Hey guys, my name is Alex and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So the last week and a half of my life has actually been pretty bad. Nothing exceptionally bad happened, which I am really grateful for, but a lot of small things just kept on accumulating until it reached its peak last weekend when I called my brother crying because I was just so mentally exhausted and emotionally drained. So naturally, I wanted to make a YouTube video about it. So one of my major gripes with social media is how contrived I know it is. It only shows you people's highlights and it gives you a really false impression of the genuine lives of other people. And I've been at parties or gatherings where I've been like, oh, okay, this is honestly pretty mid. And then I will see pictures of it later on Instagram and I will just see how cool it looks from Instagram, even though I was there and I know for a fact it was not as fun as those pictures made it seem. So when I watch YouTube or I just scroll through Instagram and I see like the highlights of everyone else's life, sometimes it's really easy to buy into the picture of the life that these people are presenting and to think that that is really how their life always is. And like if I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm already feeling lonely or exhausted and all I see is like the highlight reels of everyone's life, that is only going to make me feel way worse about the situation that I'm in. We compare ourselves to the people immediately around us. If everyone around us seems super happy, like they're having the time of their lives, and you're struggling, it's going to make you feel even worse about struggling. I think this is why there's like this weird phenomenon that like the happiest countries in the world have really high suicide rates. I wanted to make this video because I wanted people to know that it's totally okay and normal to be struggling, because I know when I am struggling, sometimes it can feel like I am the only one in like the world that is struggling with these things, but I'm not. Like it's okay to feel like you don't have everything under control, and sometimes it's okay to struggle without knowing exactly why you're struggling or to just have bad days. So here are some things that have just not gone super well in the last week for me. So the first thing I want to talk about is like making more friends. So in the first 2 quarters that I had here, I would say I spent a lot of time getting really close and really comfortable with like a pretty small group of people, and I am eternally grateful for that. But now that it's spring quarter, I kind of really want to branch out more and just meet a bunch of more people before the end of my freshman year. But making friends is hard. I can be really introverted, and so it takes a lot of effort for me to go out and spend time with people that I'm not already super comfortable with. Like I love hanging out with other people and talking to them, but it genuinely zaps me of my energy so quickly. And it zaps me of my energy even quicker when I hang out with people that I'm not like super comfortable with, and that is bound to happen if I'm trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone and meet more people. And this problem compounds because building friendships takes time. Like as much as I wish I could just snap my fingers and zoom into the future where I'm like super close homies with another person, that's just not how it works. Like the people that I'm always closest with are the people that I put in a lot of time to spending time with and slowly getting closer with. So sometimes it can be like frustrating to put a lot of time and energy into hanging out with people and just still feel like you're not quite there yet to the point where you're like really close friends. And I think that can just feel really demotivating. And then there's like the added pressure of seeing people around campus who just seem like they have more friends than you, or just like looking at people's Instagrams and seeing how many people they hang out with and to just feel kind of like inadequate as a result. And even if that is not objectively true, I can't help but feel that way sometimes. I don't know, I think navigating social life at college can genuinely just be really tough. And then there's the problem of my sleep schedule, which to be honest is just horrible. Honestly, for most of winter quarter and definitely the first 2 weeks of spring quarter, I would say that I averaged somewhere between 6 and 7 hours of sleep, which is just really, really bad. And it's one of the main goals that I'm trying to fix during the spring quarter. But yeah, the last 2 weeks, I've just been like pretty exhausted. And whenever I'm tired, I get into like this really horrible, vicious cycle of like, if I'm sleep deprived, I won't have the energy to go and socialize with people because that takes a lot of energy. And then if I don't socialize with people, I start like getting anxious, or I start like feeling like I'm letting myself down for not socializing with people more, or like putting myself out there more, which makes me even more anxious, which makes me less likely to socialize with people. It's just like a horrible cycle that I can get into sometimes if I get really, really tired. The problem with my sleep schedule is that I'm like really greedy. I want it all. Like there's so many things that I want to do, and I don't want to have to give up anything in order to sleep. Like I hate just doing homework and then going to sleep, or like just hanging out with my friends and then immediately going to sleep. I love having the last hour and a half of the day to just be me completely by myself, watching anime or scrolling through YouTube or like journaling or whatever. And like the problem is I don't normally start doing those things until pretty late, right? And so it's like 12:30 or 12 and I decide to give myself like an hour and 15 minutes to journal and watch anime and just like relax and decompress. But then I'm giving up valuable sleep time. Like, and that's just like a really hard decision for me to make, that like I would rather just sleep than do do those things, because honestly in the moment I would almost always rather journal, watch anime, or just scroll through YouTube for like an hour than sleep for another hour. But then the next morning I end up regretting it because I'm just exhausted. Another thing that really wasn't working well for me the first quarter was my classes. So to be like completely honest, I probably didn't push myself like super hard academically the first 2 quarters. It is the 3rd quarter of my freshman year and I've still never taken a midterm or a final. I've written a couple papers, but like I've never like had an actual final. And so I thought this quarter would be the quarter that I would push myself a little bit harder academically and to just really see what I could do when I try to push myself academically. And when I decided this, I didn't take into account how different spring quarter would feel. So flex, the weather here is literally just good year round. And so I kind of just assumed that spring quarter would be the same. It would still just be warm and sunny and like nothing would really change on campus. But it is different. There is like a certain energy on campus right now, I think, that is just like in the air because of spring. And I feel like no one wants to work right now. I feel like everyone just wants to go out and have fun. At least that's how I've been feeling. Like the absolute last thing I want to do right now is sit down and do homework. And that was really bad because this was like the quarter I was trying to push myself academically, and that was just like a mistake. And so I would end up just not working as hard as I probably should have on all of my stuff. And then I just started feeling like I was constantly falling a little bit further and further behind. And I could tell that if that had continued for the rest of the quarter, it would just be really bad. And honestly, I didn't love my classes. Some of them were good, but overall, I was like pretty ambivalent about most of my classes. And like, I just hate like the feeling of when I'm sitting in like a lecture or a discussion section and I just feel bored out of my mind and I feel like there's so many other things that I could be doing. And like, I just hate the feeling of like when I'm sitting in a lecture hall or a discussion section and I'm just bored out of my mind and I just feel like there are better things or more interesting things that I could be doing. I just could not stand that feeling. I hate it so much. So I was actually writing the script to this video a couple days ago and I pretty much wrote exactly what I just said. And while I was writing it down, I like realized that I could just not push myself. I think there's value in pushing myself academically, but I also just realized that like I didn't have to do that and that I think I was doing enough things outside of just classes to justify not needing to like push myself super hard in my classes. And so I dropped one of my classes. So we will not be like absolutely pushing the limits of my academic ability this quarter. Anyways, going to the gym also wasn't great last week. Like I said, I was already exhausted just because I didn't get enough sleep. And so I feel like my workouts were just like lower quality. And also I try to go to the gym in the morning. And so I would wake up late because I would sleep late. And then I would have to like rush through my workout in the morning. And then I would have to skip some things. And that just felt like really unsatisfying. It felt like waking up and like the first thing that I did was take an L. So lastly, there's this YouTube channel I haven't posted in about 2 weeks. And that's like pretty disappointing because this is genuinely something that I really care about. But I will admit that there are parts of this that I do enjoy a lot more than other parts. Coming up with new ideas and like writing scripts is actually pretty fun. I enjoy that a lot. But recording and then like sitting down and editing video is like some of my least favorite things ever, to be completely honest. And so like I've got like a bunch of footage that I'm sitting on that I actually can turn into videos if I can just sit down and force myself to edit through all of the stuff. But like I know once I finish making the videos, I always feel like proud and I always feel like it was time well spent and I always feel really glad that I did it. So I just need to like push through this little dip in motivation. And like honestly, I feel like I run into this mental block every single time I start making YouTube videos. I always feel like probably 8 or 9 videos in, I just like hit a wall where it's like really hard for me to keep going. But I really think I can push through it this time because I do have a lot of ideas about videos I want to make and things that I really want to talk about. There's been a good amount of struggle here or there, but it would be equally wrong to paint my life as just like never-ending struggle. Like any normal day, there are good and bad moments sprinkled throughout. But I think generally it's way easier to talk about the moments that we love and the best things that happen to us. So I just wanted to make a video talking about like some of my worst moments, some of my lower lows. And I remember 2 or 3 years ago when I first got into Stanford, I definitely had this like romanticized idea of college. The college would just be like this continuous great time and that would just be like the best times of my life. And it is just not like that. Like college has its highs, but it also has its really low lows. Like something I did hear a lot before going into college that I do think is really true is that college is the time in your life where you'll experience some of your like highest highs and lowest lows. And like by no means do I think the last 2 weeks will have been the lowest lows of my college career by a long shot. If they are, I will be really lucky. But I do remember the night when I called my brother and I was just crying and like exhausted. I did feel like, wow, this is one of the lowest moments I've had in like a really long time. Like I was struggling to find places where I felt like I really belonged. School felt suffocating and I was just exhausted. So to any other college student or honestly any other person out there that's struggling, I hope you know that you're not alone. Everyone struggles and the bad times will not last forever.